Hey everyone, welcome back. Thanks so much for tuning in. My name is Adam Smith, and I'm so glad that you're here with us. Hey, before we get started, I want to let you in on a couple quick announcements. First, we are continuing with our Zoom online meetings at 6:30. So right after this video message is over, we want to invite you to log on to Zoom, type in your member ID number and also the password. We'll include that in the comment section below. Go ahead and click in on that, and we want you to join us as we discuss the message but also have a little bit of fun. So at 6:30, right after this message, log on to Zoom and don't miss our Zoom meeting. The second announcement we have is in regards to what in the world is a youth group going to look like now moving forward. And we want to give you guys a little bit of an update. We are going to continue with our online format for the remainder of the month of May. We as a church are still navigating what it looks like for us as the student community to meet back in person and when that might happen and what that will look like. We are going to be meeting as a church now for main services at 9 and 11 a.m. starting on Sunday, May 31st. So the very last Sunday of May, we as a church are going to begin to start to integrate back together. However, we are still figuring out what it looks like for both the kids community and the student community to meet back together. So please be patient with us. As soon as we get some confirmation and we figure out what it'll look like, we will let you guys know. But as we continue on with our online format, we're going to play a game called Epic or Fail. So go ahead and tune in and watch this video and play along with us as we play Epic or Fail. Hey, thanks so much for playing. What we're going to do now is we're going to transition to our Red Letter Challenge. Over the course of 40 days, we are studying the words of Jesus and living them out together as a church through this 40-day initiative called the Red Letter Challenge. Each week, we focused in on different themes or principles. In week 1, we talked about being with Jesus. In week 2, we talked about forgiving and what that looks like as a Christ follower. In week 3, we talked about serving. How can we serve God and one another? And this week, we're going to talk about giving. So I'm going to give you a quick overview as to what each challenge is every day this week. So today, on Sunday, the challenge that we want to extend to you guys is to give without expecting a return. I think a lot of times we want to give and expect something back. We compliment in order to be complimented back, right? But the challenge is to give sacrificially. And so the challenge today is to give without expecting anything in return. It could be something small or it can be big. Tomorrow on Monday, we're going to utilize our resources. We're going to use our resources. You see, if you were to take a look on your life right now, you have been probably blessed with so many resources. Whether that be some of your gifts and passions and abilities, or even some of your material resources, maybe your money, your clothing, your technology, whatever that might be. And so the challenge for Monday is to be able to use your resources to give to someone in need. On Tuesday, we're going to have the challenge of giving food. You see, there are people every day who need food. I mean, as students, we know we need food. We can go a couple hours and realize, man, I really need some food. So what would it look like for us to bless someone on Tuesday with the gift of food? Whether that be home-baked cookies or a full-on meal for a family in need, be creative and think about how you can give food to someone who needs it. On Wednesday, this is personally going to be one of my favorites. We're asking you to clean out your closet. You see, in America, a lot of us have been blessed with much. We have been given a lot. And the reality is we have clothes in our closets that we don't even wear anymore. But yet there's some sentimental attachment to it that makes us want to hang on and cling to it. So the challenge we want to give for you on Wednesday, maybe you'll enjoy this, maybe not, but is to clean out your closets and to not just get rid of some of the things that you just don't wear or maybe don't have much use for, but what would it look like for you to even give where it starts to hurt a little bit, right? Maybe it's a favorite outfit that you have, or maybe it's some clothes that don't fit you anymore, or ones that you don't wear. But start to clean out your closet and give some of your clothing away. On Thursday, this one may pertain to you, but maybe not. We're encouraging all of our CCC members to tithe for 6 months. This is something that God asks of us, is to give some of the money that we receive back to Him, because that's where it all started in the first place. A tithe is 10%. So maybe you get a ready paycheck for the work that you do. Tithe 10% of that to the local church here. Maybe if you don't get a regular income, what would it look like for you if you got a gift of money? Maybe for your birthday or something like that, or for a garage sale, to tithe 10% of that. Make the commitment to give with your family or for you individually 10% of your income. On Friday, this one is an extension of what we talked about earlier, but give sacrificially. That's the challenge. Give sacrificially. Give to where it might hurt. Maybe it's of your time or your resources and materials. And so with that being said, we're going to now take a listen to a student who's in college right now. And her name is Cassidy Davis. She's going to give you guys a couple tips on how to live out your faith here in middle school or high school, or especially for you seniors who are going into college. So let's listen to Cassidy Davis.
Hey everybody, it's Cassidy. I graduated from East High School in 2019, and I currently go to Taylor. I'm an education major. So just a couple tips for you guys, especially when you're going away to college and just kind of chilling. First thing I have to say is make time to get in the Word just by yourself, and to really take care of you before getting out there and making new friends. I definitely would say that your relationship with God is definitely number one, and you should treat it like that. My second tip, more fun, fill your heart with things that would glorify God. So I really love to listen to worship music, and I found that just listening to Christian-based music has really helped me in my walk with God, because I'm not being filled with the world's ideas. And just lastly, just have fun, enjoy it. It's not meant to be some super heavy religious practice. It's just a relationship. So think of God as your best friend, and that will really help you along the way. So I really love seeing you guys and miss you all. I can't wait to have lunch with every single one of you. Okay, bye guys.
So over the last couple weeks, we have been asking different questions as a supplement to the Red Letter Challenge. We've asked questions such as, how do I deal with sin in my life? Why do I need Jesus? And how do I grow in my faith? And this week, I want to ask you a question. But before I ask you the question that I want to talk about today is, what is discipleship? What does it mean to be a disciple? If you've grown up in church or you've been around Christians for very long, maybe you've heard of this phrase or of this word, discipleship, disciple making. This is phrase and verbiage that we use quite often. But I think oftentimes it's easy to get lost in translation. We have to ask ourselves, what does it really mean to be a disciple? What is discipleship, and how do I make disciples? Now, the beautiful thing is that discipleship, that process, didn't start recently. In fact, it started thousands of years ago. Discipleship is the process of a teacher and his followers, a rabbi and his disciples. And we see this, of course, in the life and ministry of Jesus, but Jesus did not come up with this. In fact, he utilized this method because this was something that was used way before. Oftentimes, there was a very distinguished teacher or master or ruler, and he would accept applications of people who wanted to follow him. After a student would get done with their undergraduate course and they would get done with some of their essential teachings, they could, in essence, send out their applications and request to follow a rabbi. Now, this was a very exclusive thing, and this is something that they intentionally did in hopes of becoming like their teacher, becoming like their master. Famous philosophers like Plato and Aristotle was, in fact, a rabbi, and they had disciples. But Jesus revolutionized this because he didn't accept applications. He actually went after the outcast. Think about it. The people he went after already had full-time jobs. They had gotten done with their essential coursework. Maybe they requested to be a follower, but they were rejected. And so they were going back to their family business. I mean, think of people like Peter and James and John. Like, they were fishermen, fishing in their father's boats. They had gone back home to be with their family and to pick up their family business. And you also have people like Matthew, also known as Levi, who was a tax collector. Like, these were the outcasts of society, but Jesus goes after these people. So the first thing that we have to notice is that following Jesus isn't for the elite. Following Jesus is for everyone. Jesus had so many followers, even outside of the 12, who came from all different types of walks of life, all different backgrounds, and all different personalities. So following Jesus isn't just for this elite group who have their lives together and are perfect individuals and all that stuff. No, following Jesus isn't for the elite, it's for everyone. And I don't know what that does for you, but that's encouraging to me. It's okay, not only am I available to follow Jesus, but everyone is. No one is disqualified. But the thing about following Jesus or being a Christian is a lot of times it's easy to think about it as just like a label. We identify as a Christian, or we claim to go to church or go to youth group. But following Jesus is a daily process. And this is the second thing that I want you to remember. While everyone is available to follow Jesus, it's actually an ongoing daily decision to choose to follow him. I mean, think about it. Jesus didn't write things out and send it out to the people who were following him and they were able to follow at a distance. No, they actually had to give things up to follow Jesus. And oftentimes, this is what is a barrier for most people. If someone isn't really willing to become a Christian, or if someone doesn't want to follow after Jesus, usually there's different reasons for that, but one of them is because the cost of it may be too high. They aren't ready, or they aren't willing to give things up. And maybe for some of us, that is what we're wrestling with, is Jesus is calling us to lay down our lives, to give up some of our freedoms and the things that we are doing in order to follow him. And so we have to realize that following Jesus is a daily decision. It's not just a label that we can slap on and we're all good. It's an ongoing decision and an ongoing process of daily surrender and following Jesus, recognizing him as the ultimate authority and the ruler of our lives. And so we see when Jesus had his 12 disciples, especially, it was a 3-year process. They were learning about what the kingdom of God looked like, what it looked like to be a follower of Jesus. But then after 3 years, they were commissioned. They were sent out and sent off. In Matthew chapter 28, we read that Jesus told them essentially to do 3 things. After he lived a perfect life, died a sinner's death, was buried, and then was resurrected and enthroned as king and master and ruler of all, he gave them 3 assignments. First, he told them to go. Go. Don't stay here. We have to go. And that's a reminder for us is we need to go. We need to go to different places. We need to use our faith not as a platform or a place that we retreat to, but an actual living thing that we can send out and give to other people. He told them to go, therefore, and make disciples, to baptize them and to teach them everything that he's commanded them to do. So what does it mean to make disciples? What does it mean to be a disciple? To be a disciple means that we follow Jesus, that we give up our rights, we surrender to him, and we say, God, I trust you with my life. Jesus, I accept your sacrifice, and I accept your spirit. And I'm allowing your spirit to begin to change my heart and my wants and my desires. And I am choosing to commit myself to following your way and your example and your mission for my life. It's a daunting decision to make. It really is. It's one that requires a lot of thought and a lot of intentionality. But for those of us who have said yes to Jesus and have begun to follow him, we can attest that it is the best decision that you could ever make for your life. But not only are we asked to follow Jesus, we're also asked to bring others in. Not just to be a disciple, to be a follower, but to go and make other followers of Jesus. And so that's the question that we have to ask you. Of course, we've talked a little bit about what does it mean to be a disciple? What is discipleship? Discipleship is following Jesus' example, but it's also going and making disciples. So the 2 questions I want to ask you is, are you following Jesus? Not are you a Christian? Are you following Jesus? You see, it's one thing to believe in Jesus. It's another thing to live for him and to surrender your life for him. Are you following Jesus? But the second question is, are you allowing others to follow Jesus? Are you asking others about Jesus? Are you, allowing the opportunities and seeing the opportunities to be able to pinpoint people in your life to say, man, I want them to be able to follow and to experience Jesus? Are you following Jesus? And are you making followers of Jesus? Are you a disciple? And are you making disciples? That is the question that we get to ask here today. I hope you had a great time, and thanks so much for tuning in. Remember, at 6:30, we have our Zoom group, our Zoom meeting. So go ahead and tune into that. We can't wait to see you, and we can't wait for you to tune in again next week.